Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review for The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. This is a 1992 film directed by Curtis Hanson and written by Amanda Silver. It stars Annabella Sciorra, Rebecca De Mornay, Matt McCoy, Julianne Moore and Ernie Hudson. Now, I am reviewing this film alongside Lee McCoy from Drum Dums, so if you don't know that he's reviewing this film, after you've watched this, go over to his channel, check out his review. Yeah, we both kind of touched on this on Facebook together in a private message, realised that we both really liked this film, not to give the game away there, but yeah, we decided, you know what, let's review it at the same time, put those reviews out. So yeah, do check out his review. But what do I think of it? Well, first of all, it is by one of my favourite directors. Someone I think is a really unsung director, actually, in Curtis Hanson. He made one of my all-time favourite films in LA Confidential, but he's got quite an impressive body of work, it must be said. There's quite a few films on his CV that really set him apart from your average director. He's not a one-hit wonder or anything like that. He definitely knew his craft, and that shows here in this film as well. So for those who don't know, this is a story of a family who are having a child, and the woman, she goes to get checked out, as you do when you're pregnant, and she's sexually assaulted by the guy who's checking her out. And when she comes forward, prompted by her husband encourages her to go forward with it. It basically destroys this guy's life. Obviously he brought that on himself, but he ends up killing himself, and as a result his pregnant wife loses her baby and essentially blames this woman, played by Annabella Sciorra, for everything, really, for her life falling apart, for losing a child, for losing a husband, for losing a house that she can't pay for anymore because her husband has died, the fact that she has no insurance because her husband killed himself rather than dying of natural causes. So yeah, so this woman, played by Rebecca De Mornay, she goes full tilt psycho, and she just wants revenge on this family, particularly this woman. So this film was released in 1992, and it was around this time that there were a lot of these kind of psycho thrillers out there. You know, we'd had Basic Instinct, we've got films like Pacific Heights, there was one with Rutger Hauer in that I can't remember the name of, where he basically just, yeah, forces his way into this family's life and just terrorizes them. But yeah, if you know what that film is, comment down below. But this was one of the better ones, it's got to be said. Like I say, there's a slew of like psycho thrillers around this period. This is one of the ones that sticks out for me. It's one of the better ones, and I think the reason for that is because of the perspective that it takes. Now, it's written by Amanda Silver, who was one of the writers on one of my favourite horror films, The Relic, and she would also go on to have script duties on Rise for the Planet of the Apes and a few other really great films like Jurassic World as well. So yeah, quite an accomplished writer, but here she's sole writer on this. She's credited as sole writer on this, and you can tell that there is a dominant female perspective in this film, and that's one of the things that I think sets it apart from a lot of other thrillers. It really does play into women's fears of pregnancy, of childbirth, of motherhood, of not being a mother, of having that kind of taken away from you, you know, that kind of thing. Obviously I'm saying this as a guy, as if I had any kind of authority on that. I don't, but because of the way the script is written, because of how well written it is, and how well Curtis Hanson handles the material and the performances by De Mornay and Sciorra, it all just comes together, and those themes kind of jump out at you. You get a real sense of what the film is about. So yeah, I have no trouble, even as a man, dissecting that and saying, wow, this is a really great essay on what it is to be a mother and have all those fears entangled in it and all those expectations of what it is to be a woman as a result of motherhood. Now, as a result of all that, you do actually sympathise with the psycho in this, which is, it's something that in these films, you know, whenever you're dealing with someone who's deranged like this, who's full tilt wacko, I think it always helps to be able to see things from their side. You know, from this woman's perspective, she has lost everything through no fault of her own. It was her husband's fault. He should take full blame, full responsibility for that. But as a result of his actions, she's lost everything. And obviously she needs someone to blame, or she's looking for someone to blame. It's not right, and how she goes about things certainly ain't right, but it gives you a bit of an insight. It helps you to understand where she's coming from and sympathise with her, sympathise with her psychosis. Rebecca De Mornay does such a good job as well at portraying this woman and helping you to sympathise with her. Like I say, there's things she does in this that are just deplorable, but you can't help in sometimes kind of cheer her on, which sounds ridiculous. Like one moment when she basically comes to the defense of the child that she's now minding. So she basically kind of ingratiates herself into the family. They don't know who she is, and she kind of takes the job as the nanny. So she's looking after these kids, she's looking after, you know, this woman who she hates, who she's really after. She's looking after her kids and she's getting them on her side. And she goes after this one lad, this young boy who has been bullying the girl. And as someone who was bullied myself at school, I saw this when I was in school, and at the time that I saw it, I was in a kind of perfect mindset, I guess, to really love this character. When she goes over and she gives it to this lad, obviously as an adult now and as a parent, I definitely question that behaviour. It's wrong, clearly, you wouldn't do that. This is a woman with a few screws loose. But as a kid who was going through that, I did. She was a hero in this moment, you know, so I like still tapping into how I felt as a child when I watched this. I still see that, and in a way, in a twisted way, I still kind of root for her. I still kind of cheer her on. Matt McCoy as well, who plays the husband, and again, this is a combination of both, or a triple threat, I guess, of the directing, his performance, and the writing. But particularly the writing, I would say, I really like his character, because so many times in these kinds of movies, you'll get the husband character who might be portrayed as a bit weak, or it might be the wife character, depending on who is going to take the main focus. And in this case, it's the wife, because this is essentially about two mothers going head to head. In that situation, normally within these kind of films, the partner would take a bit of a back seat, and they might be written a bit poorly, oftentimes, a bit weaker. You know, and I think there would be a temptation here to write this guy as someone who might make the wrong decision. When De Mornay's character is coming on to him pretty strong, another writer might make him a bit weaker and succumb and maybe even go in for a kiss. But what I love about this guy, what I love about his character, is that as she starts to make moves, he closes her down straight away by simply saying, you know, there's only one woman for me. And he means his wife. You know, she can take that however she wants, but he means his wife. We know that, he knows that, and I love that. I love that he's written that way. And you know, to have a female writer as well to write this guy, props to her for doing that, for going that route, for recognising that actually you can have this strong husband character who sticks to his guns and has a strong moral core. You know, you don't have to make him weak in order to make the wife appear strong. The two of them together are a really great, strong unit. Julianne Moore is on board as the best friend to Skiora's character. She's as reliable as ever. She's a fantastic actress, always has been, and she gets to have a bit of feist here as well. I won't say much more about where her character goes in case you've not seen it, because if you haven't seen this film, I do think it's good to go into it fresh with not knowing too much about what happens. But I like her character. I like that she will really defend her friend, go to bat for her, that she will do the due diligence rather than just accepting the evidence that is in front of her. She'll go and she'll check it out. She'll do some investigative work to try and make sure that everything's kosher. De Mornay's character is very manipulative. We see that she's actually quite an expert in manipulation, given her game plan and how it kind of pans out. I will say, however, that just maybe as a criticism, just because the film isn't perfect, but just as a criticism, I would say that there are a couple of moments where things that she orchestrates really do depend on certain things happening in order for her plan to kind of work in the way it does. For example, there's one moment when Skiora takes some clothes to be dry cleaned, and if it wasn't for the dry cleaner, kind of checking the pockets first while she's there and taking something out and giving it to her, then it wouldn't lead to another scene a few moments later in which Skiora's character comes off as a bit nutty, and people could very much come against her as a result of that. Like I say, that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the happenstance of this guy checking the pockets, and like I've taken my clothes to dry cleaners before, took a suit to dry cleaners, and I literally hand it over and go, there you go, and then I'm out the door. It's convenient timing more than anything, because Skiora's character could have checked the pockets of the suits, of the clothes, before she left the house. That's probably what most normal people would do. Make sure there's nothing in it before you take it to the dry cleaners, but she doesn't, and it's perfectly timed so that when she does, she'll come back and get into hot water when stuff kicks off. So that would be my only criticism, really, is that it's sometimes the machinations of this character, her schemes, they're a bit too perfectly planned in the timings and whatnot. But beyond that, it is a really enjoyable thriller. Like I say, one of the best of the 90s, I think. When you think back to all those thrillers around this period, this is one of the ones that, for me, stands out. It separates itself from the crowd. So yeah, really good film for me. 4 out of 5. But what about you? Have you seen The Hand That Rocks the Cradle? If so, what did you think about it? How do you think it compares to other 90s thrillers? Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, cracking.